Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Isle of Man in the UK. This is John and Mike's MMA Corner.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to say thank you first to Dave Madden for coming on. Dave, you come on and talk. We're going to talk about a few things actually, but primarily we're going to mention it now. Get it going. Is that the UFC, or Davey in the UFC, wasn't the first mixed martial arts promotion, let's say, that was about, I believe.
What?
I know, Mike, I know, apparently
What?
so. I know.
You telling me there's no Santa?
Apparently not. Well, no, Santa's real, Mike. It's alright, relax, Santa's real. But
Hang on, it seems like everything I once believed is now...
I know, everything's
falling apart around
falling
me.
apart. But Dave, you're going to elaborate a lot more on this, but things have come out of the woodwork that we didn't know about beforehand.
Hey, thanks for having you guys, and I felt the exact same way after I read the book. It's called Godfathers of MMA, The Birth of an American Sport, and it's by Dr. Fred Adams and Bill Viola Jr., and Bill got in touch with me. I've done a few book reviews recently, and he got in touch with me and asked me if I would review this book, and I thought it was super cool that he reached out and, yeah, man, I'll read your book. And I sat down with it, and I was super skeptical the whole time. And then I just realized these guys were doing MMA before MMA, and it was super fun to see the story unfold.
I must admit, I read your review, and I was licking my lips. I was thinking, I want a copy of this book right now. You know what I mean? I want to know everything that happened right this minute. And it's... Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to find out,
So give people the premises of what, obviously don't tell people obviously about what happens in the story, but in the book, the story. What, can you give people an idea of exactly what happens in the sense of what it's about? How, is it about the creation of how they got started, these people started, or is it about the shows that they run? What's it touch on?
Yeah, so we'll just hit a preview of a spoiler alert just in case I start running away with things. But it's amazing to see how the area where they didn't call it MMA. It was combined fighting. The promotion was under these mixed array of names: tough man, tough guy, battle of the brawlers. When I wrote my review, I struggled with packing everything in because when you throw all these names out, it becomes confusing. But it was super cool to see the guy who wrote it. It was his dad, Bill Viola Sr., who you saw how he was enamored with martial arts, and he shared how he saw a martial arts event with knockout karate, and he talked about Bruce Lee's the book. It was called I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but
has it got
Bruce
pictures
Lee.
and pop-up pictures and colouring in bits in? If it does, I'm good with them.
No, none of those actually. It was super dense, but easy to follow in the sense of a story unfolding before you. But he was even into. I'll just skip the Bruce Lee part, but how just this idea of mixed martial arts being more than one focused art, and so he ended up opening his own dojo, and in martial arts, he obtained, the belts in karate, and he was a black belt. And what he started doing was he started running after practice sessions where various martial arts could come together and just share their practices. And it was interesting. Some dojos, I guess they would say, you leave your belts at the door, whereas Bill Viola said, wear your belt in here. We want everyone's knowledge. And anyways, from there, he hooked up with this guy named Frank Caligari, and they wind up running in the Western Pennsylvania area martial arts promotions, kickboxing shows, and then from there they just got this idea of let's open up all the arts together, and it wound up because the athletic commission in Pennsylvania it didn't fall under any of their reign. That ended up leading to their downfall, but anyway, that's how they were able to bring it together, was just some idea based off of the growing idea of martial arts and it being more than one.
Now, that name you mentioned, he sounds awfully like the author's name.
Yeah, that's what was also super interesting was it was his dad who started up what was called CV Productions, and those are the two promoters. His dad was one, and Frank Caligari was the other one.
Yeah, so basically, we've got a book that's very, very close to home, so it hasn't had Chinese whispers for years and years, you know what I mean? This is literally a son writing about his father's experiences.
Yeah, and it was just super powerful too. And you could feel that connection to martial arts, and now Bill Viola Jr., the author, he runs the Kumite Classic in Pittsburgh. He's huge into the martial arts and MMA scene. I don't know how deep, but he is very much ingrained into the martial arts scene. With like I said, the Kumite Classic, and writing this book, and so it's just really it was cool to see that growth and that development happen.
And like you say, it was cool to see, and I think for people at home, it's a book that I think they should look into reading, because we obviously, me and Mike are going to delve into that as well, but it's not available to ourselves in the UK.
Which is a bit of a shame.
But do you know what? I think in time. Yeah. But is it available on digital copy?
Yeah, on Amazon, and I put a link in my article for that. But yeah, it's on Kindle through Amazon. And I was bummed to hear when Mike told me that it wasn't available to you guys, because I think he in the review got that excitement I did, because the UFC is not first, and you're blown away to see that these guys actually. They were doing MMA. They were, like I said, they were calling it combined fighting and everything else under the sun. They just didn't have that term MMA, but they were doing it, and so yeah, that was a bummer that Mike couldn't order it directly, and you guys can't. But so anyways, on Amazon.
Well, I couldn't believe that, and this wasn't a flash in the pan. This went on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 1979 to 1983.
Yep.
Yeah, so
it wasn't a one-off.
Yeah. It's not like it went once and crashed. It actually sort of carried itself.
It's
a
weird
while,
that I think what frustrates me is that it's only coming out of recent times. It's not come out any sooner. And I think to myself, because I love the book that we've spoken before about that Art Davey and Sean Wheelock did together, which was Is It Legal? And that book in itself, it's fascinating, and it was a great read. And then you hear about this and you think, well, Art Davey's idea was around, he pitched the idea business-wise, I think it was like 1989. You think, only within that decade, it was actually it actually already happened. So, I do myself look forward to getting the book and just seeing what they were doing in their way, how they ran it their way, and how they went about it.
I do believe there are actually some YouTube clips out there, aren't there?
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, absolutely, and Godfathers of MMA, and my understanding is they want to actually pitch this as a movie, and I think with that 80s vibe movie feel, and I mean, you're recreating Rocky, and that's actually the theme that runs throughout this book is, this is the real life Rocky, and And just an interesting perspective that I learned from the book was, and I just had never thought about it maybe, or, maybe let's see what you guys think, but in Art Beatty's book, with Sean Wheelock, it was, obviously the story of the UFC, and you're figuring out who the best fighter is. When you read Godfathers of MMA, you definitely get more of a sense of this pride of the streets, like who's the toughest guy out there, and which is more like that Rocky vibe. And actually, in Godfathers of MMA, they come out and say how, and correct me, what do you think? But UFC was designed as a way to show one art being the best versus the CV Productions tough guy Battle of the Brawlers, whatever they want to call it, whatever the name we want to say is. They wanted to figure out who the best is.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Yeah, I think you're right there. With the UFC, with UFC 1, it was definitely like my martial art is better than your martial art, rather than I'm better than you are, sort of thing. So it was more like our team rather than an individual. Whereas reading your review, it was more like down to individuals.
Yeah, and that's exactly the time period. Because Rocky II came out in '79, and this was early '80s, and the vibe was right there about who's the next Rocky, and this let people do that, and boxing, the corrupt aspect of it, compared to what they made, it was like, well, it's a little more boring. So it definitely showed who's the toughest, and the fight scenes. You read the fights, and it was like I just read a post-fight breakdown from whoever your favorite MMA author is, and it was so fun for sure to see these guys who just say, and they talked about them being these guys with beer muscles when they would hang up their posters. Like, just picturing that fight promotion, they're hanging up posters about events, and these guys are saying, "Oh, I could beat up that guy," and it just stems from there of well, can you, and opening it up for this tournament of who is the baddest guy in Pittsburgh area, but they wanted to go national, and they did actually have plans to before they were shut down.
Do you know what?
I was going to say it was more of a tough man tournament sort of thing. Where we've had. I mean, okay, sometimes they've more followed the boxing tradition, but you have these tough man tournaments that you enter.
I'm more shocked that Dave said. Oh, go on, Dave.
Well, in the tough man tournaments, they, like I had initially said, they started with that name, Tough Man. But then, like you're saying, the boxing matches were also called Tough Man. And so that's where this idea of them struggling through names was, because they didn't want to be associated with this amateur boxing thing. They were trying to build a league and a sport, and so actually a guy wound up dying in a Tough Man, and that kind of layered with other issues politically. It led to the demise of CV Productions.
Yeah, it's a shame. But what did make me it made me giggle slightly when I saw it.
Not the death
is on one of the posters. I do believe the prize money was actually $10,000. I think it was, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, UFC are already paying $10,000 at the moment, and this goes back to like 1979. And I was thinking, way to go,
It reminds me a bit of the Gracie Challenge as well, a little bit. It's a little bit almost similar to Gracie Challenge, which obviously was before UFC was created as well.
Yeah, that was way back in the day.
And Gracie Challenge followed through for years. It reminded me a little. It's got a little bit of similarities there. I know it's one martial art against him, but
I know this one wasn't about the pay.
No.
But it did make me giggle that the figure. Was it 8 or 10,000? I think it was something like that.
You know what? I think those regional ones. I'm looking at the poster I embedded, and it said be the next Rocky, 6,000 total prizes. So $6,000 in total prizes.
Right.
Nice.
Right, I might have read it slightly
They do
wrong.
the little small print bit.
All right,
Yeah.
I might have flew across that one.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see they did want to go national with it. Obviously, it didn't happen, but for a grand prize winning of $100,000, and just I think I put in my review too how fun it was to be snapped back into reality of what time period am I in, because the annual cost or salary, I'm sorry, of a football player was $77,000 at that time, and I just think now like that's like a water boy, in the NFL, compared to then. So it was just interesting to see the payout for winning this whole thing had it really gone national, compared to the most prestigious sport, of being football.
Yeah, that's crazy that the dream they had.
But I tell you what, the craziest thing is the fact that it stayed under the radar.
That's what I mean. We didn't know about it.
Yeah. When you I like to think that I'm fairly educated within the sport and know more than the average Joe.
I was about to say that.
And then to think that I'm literally new to this. It's like
I'm annoyed a bit.
How do I not know this? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And for that, I have to thank yourself, because without yourself, I would still be in the dark.
Yeah, I like I told you guys, I was waiting. You know what? Reading it, I was waiting for that time I could point at the book and go, "You're different. You're not MMA. This is ridiculous." I mean, over and over again. I mean, the rules that they came up with to support safety, their focus on fighter safety, the open finger gloves. You can see on the cover of the book. The illegal blows, the refs. They got refs like Big John, the scary guys who were known as fighters in the area and had a lot of respect. And the way they controlled the crowd of, these are neighborhood guys.
I believe they were wearing head guards as well when they.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Because it was amateur. It was amateur.
Yeah, so they weren't being barbaric. It wasn't like a chase for blood. It was purely let's see who does fight the best. It's I love the idea behind it. It's like, let's keep you safe, but let's see who can win a fight. And I praise them for that.
Absolutely, I loved. Another one of the parts I embedded was this guy named Frank Tagano, and I mean, I'm not going to buy a UFC fight kit for the life of me, but I would buy Frank's, and I just thought it was super cool. He's in this newspaper. I think the newspapers and the pictures and the clips, it just made everything feel so real and like you're there. And you just see Frank. He had this war. I mean, you would have given him fight of the night, and he said to the reporters, they go, "Why do you fight?" And I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the trophy.
Exactly.
And it was just that's why we love these guys who step in the cage. It's, they do it just to see, are you better? Yes, they want the money, but they want to know if they're better than others. So that was fun.
All right, we're not going to talk any more about the books. Don't give any more away.
Because I'm going to be reading this, and I have already spoken to the author.
Yeah.
So,
but
things will progress with that one.
Now, what we're going to say is, where can people get it, Dave? Just give people a quick mention again. We said Amazon. Is there anywhere else they can jump to?
Don't look around in the UK.
Nowhere there. But if you want the paperback version, it's at godfathersofmma.com. And then that's where also I think Mike saw lots of the YouTube videos, and they have tons of cool things to actually look at on the site.
Right.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, get a copy, get interested, have a little reading, educate yourselves, because we will actually be learning.
Because you probably are calling bullshit on us already.
Yeah.
But I promise you, this is all real. And
so it's something for yourselves to learn. But Dave, we're going to move on from that, because like I say, we don't want to give too much more away about it.
And this isn't the only thing you do.
No. But you start doing a bit of the book, like you said, do the book review stuff. how do you find? Do you quite enjoy doing that book review stuff? Is something different?
Yeah, I think I started reading. I love reading, and when I started realizing how many MMA books were out there, I just started picking them up and trying them. And I thought, really, these guys are writing books in between all their training and all these fights. So, but they're obviously, a lot of them are written with someone. And these guys are so talented, and I don't know how much percentage and ratio the fighters write and the ghostwriters write, but the writing in many of these are so well done. And like the one you guys were talking about, Is This Legal? Like I said, I don't know how much Art wrote and how much Sean wrote in that ratio, but there's some good writers, and that was fun to read. And so anyways, I read them, and I think kind of like I heard Robin Black talk about one time, is you just get this excitement that you can't wait to share. And having platforms to write on, either like you said, MMA Latest News, or on my own WordPress, I just want to share with someone else. Hey, you might like this too. And so, anyways, I suck down these books like Coca-Cola, and I belch out whatever review comes out, and I've enjoyed reading them though, and it's actually brought me a connection with some of the guys like Justin Wren or Charlie Brenneman. It's been fun to write a review about their book and see them say, thank you and well done.
So what Dave's really saying is can't keep a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I like
really
about
not to give the book away.
what I like what you're doing, Dave, as well is because you're doing the review books. Like you say, there's a lot of books out there that people don't know about. They don't know that MMA fight books. So you're actually, your little review is just going out there a little bit more. More people are probably
Making
finding
awareness.
out and making awareness,
Yeah.
and people are probably going to get their books have probably sold a handful more, or 100 more, or maybe 1,000. We don't know, but a little thing like that does help, I think, and it's a good thing that you're doing, because you also you do the podcast, you listen to podcasts, you do some write-ups and stuff like that, and you do a lot of bits like that. And I think it's it's interesting work that you do, and we appreciate the work you've done for us.
Yeah, I think too these stories, either on like the podcast where the guys get into more than just the fights, and these books where it's more than just the fight, and I think that's why I even started getting into writing about MMA and being more active in social media about MMA, is because I just think it's more than just the fight, and I just think if people saw how much more there is to the sport, it would just close that gap between it being this hardcore for only sport and being more mainstream. And there's just so much out there besides just the UFC, and I that's why I take so much interest in all these different avenues other than just watching the fights, even though the fights are fun.
Yeah, there is a lot more substance than just the fighting.
Well, it's like when we started off doing the podcast, that was the sort of road that we wanted to go down. We knew that the fights are there to watch. We knew that there were other people already talking about the fights and giving, predictions and reviews of the fights afterwards. But there wasn't an awful lot going in depth into the actual fighters and what does the fighter do between fights. A bit about their background.
What's
and
his
things like
favourite
that.
flavour ice cream? Just random anything, doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's ask a question that hasn't been asked yet.
And that's the key. That's what we like to do. We like to get people to connect more to the person.
Exactly, because they are people at the end of the day. They're not just fighters. They they have families. They have hobbies. Things outside of the fighting life.
That's why I've been a huge fan of your show, and is because it's and I've actually battled through the accent issue. No, I'm just kidding. But,
yeah, we're both Chinese, by the way.
It's nice because you guys you set them up in a way where they turn loose, and not all podcasts by any means, but you definitely feel like they went in with these prescribed questions, and we're done. And there's, like I said, there's so much more than, and these are, like you guys said, they're people, and they have such neat lives, and they're not all these gangbangers. I mean, there's so many different lives, and it's neat, and I think these fighters bring a growth mindset that the world could really follow and learn from.
I think one of the ones that really sort of sticks in my memory was when we spoke to Nick Newell just a few days after he retired, and I was saying to him, I mean, everyone knows that I've got my own disabilities, and I remember talking to Nick Newell and saying, like, whether you like it or not, you are an inspiration to people out there, and you could see that he was almost having trouble sort of taking that on board,
accepting it in a way.
Yeah, the reality of the man, like, he can accept being a fighter, but he can't accept that he's an inspiration because he just sees himself as himself, and it was kind of nice to sort of see that he was that sort of humble, but it was that one sticks in my mind as, but with some people, it's a case of, it's hard to get them back in the box. It's like Mr. McCall and a few others.
There's a few others.
Yeah, it's but it's great,
Dave, so you've this year 2015 just gone. You've really started to nail a lot of work. You're getting a lot of material out there, let's say. And what's the plans? Have you got any plans for 2016 to give people a heads up on the work that you're going to be looking to try and do?
Where to go from here, right? I think I've had so much fun. What I'm doing, listening to podcasts when I get chances, the connections I've gotten to make with, shows like you and fighters and just other personalities related to MMA and just or writing and what's next? I'm just going to keep doing this and just writing about MMA and hopefully continuing to shed light on other aspects other than just the fight itself. And I guess I didn't really have a New Year's plan. I just have been having so much fun with what I've been doing. So I just pictured continuing, and yeah.
I think he's going to unearth in 2016 that it was Christianity before Jesus.
Yeah. No, honestly, Dave,
do you think that's not the last shocker?
No, David. Honestly, it's great that the work that you've been doing, and we enjoy reading the stuff that you do. For people who haven't read it yet or would like to have a look at what you do, and how can they get online, mate? And where can they go to?
So the review that we talked about with Godfathers of MMA specifically, and a bunch of others, I have on MMA Latest news.com, and I host my own stories on my WordPress. That's at DaveMaddenMMA.wordpress.com, and I've really enjoyed just being active with people on social media, and I would love for people to add me. I'm at Dave Madden on Facebook or D Madden MMA on Twitter, and that's the best way to get in touch with me. And I just love the interaction actually with MMA. It feels like other sports are so distant, and people have their toes so dug into the sand about like their team or whatever their belief is. And MMA, there's a little bit of that, but I feel like so many more people are open to here's a different idea, and and maybe that's because the sport's still new in a sense, but I think MMA is so unique and special, and I love being a part of it.
And Dave, we look forward to seeing what work you bring bring out in 2016. More books and stuff like that we might have to end up purchasing and reading as well.
Yeah.
More time, more reading, more reading.
Let's just make them available in the UK, shall we?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Dave, thanks guys so much, and I appreciate what you guys do very much in MMA and the interviews you guys have, and I listen to every episode, and I make sure I like the YouTube aspect you guys have incorporated where not that I don't love all the other fight talk you guys have with your previews and predictions and stuff, but you know, I like that you cut that interview right into a YouTube segment, and I listen to all of them, man. I love them.
Yeah, we're gonna do more with the YouTube stuff in the future. We have got bits I'm working on in the background. I'm gonna add to it and stuff. But yeah, there's gonna be more happening on the YouTube side of things.
I tell you what, if he listens through everything, he deserves a medal, because even I don't listen to them all.
No, but honestly, Dave, thanks very much for coming on and speaking and letting people know about this book. And you know what, we're looking forward to getting the book, getting our hands on and having a read.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, man, it's in the mail, Mike, actually, and so hopefully it gets here, and I'm gonna get it out to the Isle of Man ASAP, man.
Oh, I tell you what, I cannot wait, and I can't thank you enough for that, Dave. You know, you've
You're
saved me.
welcome.